Hi folks, I'm Dan Payne, and this is Web Accessibility for Business Owners. Okay, so we've come to the last video in my series. I've laid out a bunch of information about web accessibility so far, but in this video, I'll point you towards some resources and tell you about some improvements that you can make today. Let's get started. Okay, so if you've gotten this far with my series, first I have to thank you for being interested, and I hope you've enjoyed it and maybe learned a thing or two. But I think I can also assume that you're here because you're interested in how you, as a business owner, can make your website more accessible. I've assembled a few resources that can be found at the URL being shown now, which is danpayneconsulting.com/resources. Also, later in this video, I'll share a tip that not a lot of people seem to know about that may put some of your investment in accessibility back in your pocket. So stay tuned for that. It's always best to bake accessibility in right from the start. That means including accessibility in the very earliest discussions and right through the design, development, and production phases. Of course, this isn't always possible, but sometimes starting from scratch can be the best approach. Here are a few things to keep in mind as you get started. Number one, make the commitment. Organizations are most successful with accessibility when the entire enterprise buys into the effort, especially top management. Develop an accessibility statement that declares your organization's target and the methods you'll use to reach that target. Make it a priority and part of your culture, and before long, your people won't even notice the changes and it'll become automatic. Number two, make a plan. Whether you're starting from scratch or dealing with an existing site, an accessibility plan is critical to getting on and staying on the right track. You could do it yourself, and of course I'm biased, but working with an accessibility professional to help craft that plan can really help make sure it's solid and will get you to where you want to be. Now, some of these items may apply more to an existing site than to a new one, but basically the approach for making the plan will be stop the bleeding. That means make sure any new content like blog or social media posts are conformant with things like images, having alternative text, or videos including captions. Identify what needs to be fixed. The big accessibility companies will want to do an extensive audit, but with some guidance, your team can do this yourselves, at least enough to get started. And having an accessibility professional along for the ride can help steer you through some rough waters. Prioritize what to fix and when. Obviously, you want to make sure to tackle the biggest problems first, so it helps to organize your list and figure out an appropriate application of effort over time. Once again, an accessibility professional can help you determine which barriers present the biggest problems. Identify responsibilities. So now we know what needs doing. Let's make sure the right people get the right training on what they need to do, when, and how. Go do it. Now that you're organized, go do it. Again, you can pretty much jump to this step with a new build, but only if you're properly organized first. Monitor. Keep the momentum going by continually reviewing progress and looking for new issues. This means integrating accessibility into your production flow. Do it again. Periodically go back to the start and review everything top to bottom, especially if you introduce any major new features or go through a redesign. The timing of this depends on the size, complexity, and features on your site, so including this in your overall scheduling can help avoid surprises. Number three, keep it simple. Okay, so in making your plan, be sure to keep it simple. One of the biggest misconceptions I see that people have about accessibility is that it's something that needs to be tackled all at once. It doesn't need to be. When building your plan, keep in mind ways that you can integrate accessibility into your regular daily flow. That's the only way it's going to stick, and the only way it'll become part of your routine is if it's built in to your operations. Unless there's some specific reason in your case, you probably don't have to drop everything, or even let it impact your schedule much. Slow and steady wins the race. A little improvement over time is much better than a massive effort that grows stale. Number 4, don't worry. So much of the messaging about accessibility tries to use scare tactics. When you have a plan in place and are demonstrating that your organization is committed to accessibility, it just stands to reason that it'll enhance your goodwill in the community. Number 5, get started. That journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first step. Here are a few things that you may be able to do today to get that momentum going. If you are proficient with code and have access to your site's code, or if your site is built with a content management system, also called a CMS, like WordPress or Drupal, there may be some items you can work on right away. I mentioned this already, but things like adding alternative text for images is supported by most CMSs. When you do this, it helps to craft that text by thinking, why am I including this image here? What message am I wanting the reader to get? Or what emotion am I trying to elicit? The idea is that a non-sighted user should be able to experience that image in as close a way as possible to the way that a sighted user would. I'll have links for more information on how to do this on my resources page. If you have videos on your site or on your YouTube channel, are they captioned? It's great that YouTube now has a feature that will auto-caption videos, but we call it auto-craptioning because they're usually not very good. Still, it's better than nothing and certainly a step forward, but we can do better. There's a way you can either export those auto-craptions to a text file, make fixes, then re-upload them, or you can make manual modifications to the captions directly in YouTube. Again, my resources page will have links to more information on how to do this, but it's something that you could do today, and it's not that hard. Are you using headings on your pages? And if so, are they in a logical order? This is basic outline stuff like we learned in school. An H1 represents a top-level heading. There's usually only one per page, and usually it's similar to your page title. From there you go down to H2 and so on, with the lowest level in HTML being H6. You shouldn't have a random H3 somewhere just because it formats the text the way you want. That's not what they're for. Headings are important not just for better readability, but also for screen reader users to better understand the structure of your pages. They should be used in a hierarchical, nested, logical way. Speaking of page titles, do yours properly indicate what content a person can expect to see on that page? Keep in mind that this is one of the first things that screen reader users hear as they navigate. So there are a few things you can do to help make that experience better. Like, don't put redundant information first, like your company name. Can you imagine hearing XYZ Plumbing homepage, XYZ Plumbing about us, XYZ Plumbing contact us? Putting your company name first on the homepage is okay, but for lower level pages that becomes redundant and annoying. Again, I'll have links to more helpful info on my resources page. Okay, so getting back to that tip I mentioned, there's a little known tax credit in the IRS code that you may qualify for. Under IRS Code Section 44, the Disabled Access Credit allows for certain businesses to claim a 50% credit for any expenditures over $250 up to $10,250 for a maximum benefit of $5,000. These expenditures include website accessibility as well as built world accessibility improvements. Now, there are a number of restrictions, but it's certainly worth looking into. Talk with your tax professional to see if you might qualify for this. Thank you for watching my humble videos. If you have any feedback, especially on accessibility issues that you may have run across, please drop me a line at feedback@danpayneconsulting.com. If you've found this video or this series helpful, I'd be so appreciative if you'd give a thumbs up to the videos and subscribe to my channel. I'm planning on producing more videos, so you don't want to miss out on that. Okay, be kind, stay safe, and avoid accessibility overlays. Cheers.